Hello, today is the International Day for the Disappeared. There are thousands of people whose whereabouts is unknown because they have disappeared during some conflict or war. For example, in Ukraine, it's thought that there are 65,000 people who the Russians have taken away without them having any ability to contact those that they've left behind. There are obviously in Gaza probably thousands of people buried under rubble who in a sense, they're disappeared. And of course, there are the remaining hostages that Hamas are holding. In Nigeria, where the war with Boko Haram, the jihadists, is still raging, there are thought to be 25,000 people whose whereabouts is unknown, and many of them are children. Um, Imagine the heartbreaking situation where a mother is running from hostile forces. Her children get separated, and eventually she loses them. I mean, it's hard to imagine anybody whose loved one has been taken away from them in that violent sort of way, and then not knowing whether they're alive or what conditions they're in, or having any idea about what's going on for them. It's good that this day is a reminder of people suffering in that way. It started in Latin America in the 80s. Because in Latin American countries in the 70s it became a tool of war to actually deliberately disappear people whose views were not congenial to the government of the time. And then the United Nations took the day over later on and made it an international day of remembrance. We need to remember people even though we don't know their names. Bishop Oscar Romero, who was the bishop in El Salvador in the 70s when all that was going on, he used to use his position as Archbishop to get a spot on the local radio. And all he would do would be to simply read out the names of those people whose families didn't know where they were. So you just got a long list of people who had been disappeared. And of course it was that the authorities didn't like, and which among other things led to his assassination by militia soldiers loyal to the government. But we can't remember the names of people in that sort of very specific way, and even though I've Googled and tried to find some, I can't. But what we can do is just generally remember those who have been disappeared, not knowing what their fate is, but particularly remember too their loved ones who are left behind and whose worry about them must be constant.